All right, and getting started on how to draw noses. This guide, again, available on Google Classroom. I think I'm going to kind of think through sort of this section, this step. I like these different views here, forward, side, and 3/4. This is an interesting sketch with no blending. This is what it looks like if you didn't have a blending tool. Sort of some anatomy here, some student sketches. And then this how-to, it reminds me of how to draw the eyes or how to draw the lips, something kind of similar to that. By the way, you see this word? This word is another word for blending tool, tortillons. It's a funny word. So just in case you're wondering what in the world is that, that's a blending tool. Okay, so I have a blank piece of paper and my Sharpie marker. I like to start with this. I'm gonna just say how to draw noses.
Can you record this, please?
Yes, ma'am. Recording right now. So in getting this started, I have a 3B pencil. I have an HB, and you guys, I'm barely going to use a 6B. This would be around the nostrils. And I'm going to go ahead, and I have these samples I cut out. This is your reference images, the female, the child, and the male noses. I think I'm going to go with this one only because I like the shading. That's just me. But they're all pretty similar. Okay. This nose might be, the camera angle might be tilted slightly so you don't see the nostrils as much. But you'll want to pick one of these. This one might seem a little simpler without the nostrils, but it could be more difficult because it's literally only made of shadows. So the outliners, this will be a tough one actually, because there is no outlines. But just pick one that you like. And again, I'm going to slide these away. We'll be drawing this. And I'm just going to use the HB to get started. So when I draw the nose, I'll just break this up into steps. Okay. Steps and notes. So, number one, nose is made out of shadows. That is the fundamental thing I say every time we draw noses. So I'm going to write that. So important. I'm going to underline shadows. Okay. Which means you're going to use your blending tool. And your, for fun, let's write it. Tortillon. I'll put a smiley face next to that because it's a goofy word. It's the same thing. I wonder how many of you have tried the tissue paper. This is just like a Kleenex. Okay. I've only used it a little bit right here for blending. And so we could put the tissue. And I'm just going to say use these. All right, number two. Oh. Let's see here. I think that interrupted the Zoom meeting. All right, there we go. You guys still see my notes? Yeah, okay. So number two is that there are no hard lines in the nose. So I say that, let's look at the sample. So step one, it's all made of shadows. There's really no hard lines in that. What I mean by hard lines is if you had like the mouth we drew the other day, this thing has really hard edges in places. The nose doesn't. That's actually why it's easy. So there are no hard lines. You could say just soft, smooth gradations. Number three, this is where we get to sketching. I'm going to lay out the anatomy of the nose. So what I mean by that is like the mouth and the eyes a little bit. I actually am gonna draw this nose right in here. I'm gonna sketch a really light, look how I'm holding my pencil kind of back here, a really light vertical line to line this nose up on. I know you can see that. Bump up your computer brightness just a little bit. There's a very faint line that I'm gonna erase. And this is what I'm gonna build the nose on, okay? Otherwise it's crooked, okay? Lots of nose jokes coming up right there, right? Nose puns. Don't want a crooked nose. So the first little mini bullet here is to sketch the vertical axis, okay? So you wanna make sure you have this established. You guys see my notes right here. Then you're gonna plot size marks. Remember these with the corners of the lips or the corners of the eye shape. We drew some dots, okay? I'll put the word dots here. Give you guys a chance to catch up. Look at my notes for a second. If you're caught up, ask yourself, okay, what did I miss? All right. Let's draw those size marks. Looking at this, you know what? This is probably life size. The photo is cropped off, and you can imagine eyes right here. So the nose technically does go between the eyes, okay? But I think it'd be really distracting if I had eyes in this photograph. And so I cropped it way down like this, okay? So granted, the bridge of the nose kind of goes up and down here. But here's what I'm thinking. The very bottom of this nostril, I'm gonna just plot kind of a little bit of a shape right here, a little bit of a line. That's where I want the nostril to end up. If I was drawing her nose, same thing. It's this. Or this kid's nose, it's kind of this. So where do I want it to end up? Okay. The next thing I want to think is about how wide. Look at me, this is how I kind of think. That's about an inch. So if I come over here and maybe up slightly, this is about where I want the edge of the nostril. And I want to make sure I do that identically over here. Sit back a little bit after you do that second dot and ask yourself, does that look about the same? Because as you start to sketch, you'll have a nose with one nostril bigger than the other. Okay. Symmetrical. Boom. Okay, symmetrical. I like it. So here's some other thoughts that I kind of work through when I start this. I bet you'll see this as I point this out. Watch this line. I'm going to use my pencil. Everybody look at this. This right here, starting here, curving up, down, back up and around. I'll go backwards. That's probably the closest thing we're going to get to a hard line. And it's really not that hard because it's super soft through here. But that's what I'm going to sketch. This, down, and back around. And they have to look the same like a butterfly, symmetrical. And here's my bottom line. So watch me sketch this. And watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to kind of crook that around. And I'm going to erase my guide mark because it's going to mess with me a little bit. Okay. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I just did. See that? It's like a mustache or something almost, but I'm going to do that on the other side now as well. And like I said, it's a little tricky because you do want it to be symmetrical. And yep, I'm erasing. That's just how it goes. It takes you a while to creep up on that shape. One thing I already note that I don't like is that I'm hooking it too hard. Let's get rid of those. Okay, I darkened mine a little bit just so you can see it. Let's see our progress. And just add to my notes while I wait for you guys. Draw on the bottom of the nose. And I might sketch this little thing like this. Little cartoon nose. Okay. All right. Update your notes as well. Don't labor on that drawing too much because you know what? We're going to have time to change it as we start to shade. Just get something down. Okay. All right. Let's start to move up from the bottom of the nose a little bit, and I'll show you what's drawn next. On my notes, I'm gonna just say sketch in the balls of the nose. There's 3 of them. Here's what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3. Oops, let's look at that one more time. The nostrils and the ball of the nose, the tip of the nose here. Okay. This is gonna actually help us establish the shading. So for the sketch geeks in the room, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, I totally see where this is going. Because if this is a sphere hidden in there, I can shade that like a sphere. Yep, that's exactly how I want you thinking. Look at this person's sketch. You can tell they clearly had spheres or balls drawn in there. Let's go back over here and draw in those spheres. Let's see. Put them in quotes, the spheres. For nostrils. And the tip of the nose. You guys want a creepy adventure? Just type in human nose and Google search images. Oh my goodness. It was a weird thing trying to find these 3 samples for you guys. I was like, it was disturbing. In and out of there. It's a weird part of the face. We don't pay a lot of attention to it. We always look at each other's eyes and mouths. And from there, it's the whole expression of those things and the muscles in your face to creating facial expressions that we pay attention to. We don't really look at the nose. The nose can't do too much. So that and the ears, I feel like always take a back burner of importance. Let's sketch in those. Now, this is where you want to take a break and watch how Mr. Anderson does this. I'm gonna zoom out slightly. I hold the end of my pencil. Again, I'm rocking an HB, it's not a lighter pencil. And here's what I'm gonna do. I wanna sketch this ball right here, this sphere. And I wanna think about it in the size of this guy. So watch closely how I do this. It does not sit right here. It doesn't sit right there. That's a little too far down. In fact, I'm gonna come up slightly. I want the sphere to be there. And I want it to come up around right here. Okay, and then I want it to hit maybe, so you can almost see I'm sketching it in, but here's what I do. Pro tip, I get this motion going. It's actually starting with my elbow, and look at my wrist is locked. I'm not doing this with my wrist. I lock it, and I actually get this sphere going from my elbow until I feel like it's about right, and lay that down. And I drew it really light. I've got about 6 circles right here. And I can see that I like some of them better than others. All I have to do is take my eraser and just kind of pick the parts of this I just sketched that I like. Let's come down and see that up close. That's a key step. And before you sketch, watch me just put in the other 2. There's a smaller one happening here and here. Okay, watch Mr. Anderson. I'm gonna go ahead and plot those in. They're kind of half in, half off of the other circle. Okay, not bad. Got a little wide in here, so just erase the ones I don't like. Interesting. Right now, if you showed this to somebody, they'd be like, what are you drawing? Okay, it's so strange. But I have 1 big sphere and 2 small ones. This is very light. A lot of this is going to get lost in the shading, and you don't want anybody to see this later. Okay, this is like the framework of a 3D clay model or something. You don't want anybody to see the skeleton underneath. They want to see the form on top. Okay, so take a minute and sketch yours. Grab your eraser, get it right. What I'm going to do while I'm waiting for you guys here is just write in the next piece, okay? All right. I like to have these little sketches in here of these steps. So I put in the spheres, and the sides of the nostrils are basically lines I'm going to draw with my pencil. And you can see, look at my sketch. See these things? In fact, let's use a colored pencil and kind of point at those. So add this to your notes, and then we will do that. We're so close to shading, and just like the mouth, it just kind of comes alive when you shade it. So sketch in the sides of the nostrils, which I did, and I think we are ready now to start to shade this. Let's just sketch those in really quickly. If you want to take a break and watch me, look, this is what I'm drawing right now, this line. I can't tell you how many students press too hard for this, though. You guys, look at that line. It's so out of focus. But it feels out of focus, but it's because it's smooth. It's a gradation in from the nostril into the cheek. Look at this sketch. This is the photograph of the female nose. Let's look at the kid really quick. It's even softer. It's not a hard line. All right, watch Mr. Anderson here. I'm gonna plot this distance. Watch me. I feel like some people get this wrong, put it too close to the nostril. So I'm gonna come away from it, about right there. And it crooks down below the nostril. And then up and kind of fade off like that. Okay. Looks a little wide right now, but remember, this is a pretty big area. Let's come back over here. I want to mimic that. Super light on this side. I don't even see a line here. Really, all this is a guide to shade. You don't want people to see these lines later, okay? Not bad. In fact, one thing I'm noticing is these two spheres, look at that, I'm gonna erase them because I don't like them. I can do that. I'm actually gonna enlarge the tip of the nose just a little bit before I shade, because the spheres actually help you know where to shade. And the balls of the nose on the side right here could be a little bit bigger. There we go. Zoom in on that, made a little adjustment. Not bad. Okay. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving forward. Remember, I'm recording this. If you get a little lost, just stop and make sure you're watching this. And then you can kind of come back and work on your sketch later after you can watch the YouTube video. Okay. So for sake of time, I want to move into step number 4. I'm going to write that right over here. Any guesses what it's going to be? Yep. A lot of you are on mute. Shading it. Yep. Shade it, best part, okay? Soft tones, smooth gradations. And I'm gonna say, see step number 1. Because step number 1 hinted at the fact that the nose was made all out of shadows, okay? See step 1. This nose is made of all kinds of value bars, which you guys did so good on. And this becomes my best friend during this step, okay? Okay, so maybe we want to say a little pencil, more blending tool. All right, we're almost done here with these notes. I want to try this. A little pencil, more blending tool. Now you guys know, you've learned that you have to lay down some graphite first. Sharpen up my pencil. Why do I say that? Look at the tip of my pencil, how small that is. It's gotten smaller from writing all these notes. sharpening it will expose a little bit more. Let's take a look. You can see it exposed a lot more of that graphite. And I'm going to start to lay down my shadows. I think this is the key part where you might want to take a break, watch your teacher teach and demonstrate, and then give it a try and just watch how I think through things, okay? So obviously I like to get in here because I'm a right-handed student or teacher or whatever, drawer. I'm gonna work on this left side and work my way across because as I work, I want to sort of reveal the artwork. If I worked here, I'm kind of hiding it with my hand. I might even smudge. So I'm going to work over here first, and I like to put in the darkest value. So small ovals with the side of my pencil. And grade 8 that down. Try some different directions. Just watch me figure this out. Little value bar went from dark to light. Come back up here. There's really not a lot of graphite here. And I'll tell you what, I don't like this hard line. Let's get rid of that right now. We don't even need it through here. Okay, come back up here, and now I can start to see some shading. Again, I highly encourage you to just chill out and watch this. It's not going to take very long, and I don't want you to look up and go, oh my goodness, I don't even know how you did that. I wasn't watching. And this has a little bit of a shadow here, so I'm going to shade just a little bit. Just a little bit. That actually might be too much. We'll have to see. As soon as I put this thing down, it's gonna multiply the darkness of that. All right, let's come back over here and shade maybe just through here. Establish that outer shadow. And look how I'm gonna carry this up because I'm kind of in a rhythm with these ovals. Lighter, lighter, lighter. Oh my gosh, it's starting to kind of come alive. I can see the bridge of the nose a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. Be careful, not pressing hard. Come back around here.
You can't really see your image.
I'll zoom in a little bit. Is that fair?
There we go.
Make sure that's good focus. And this whole part of the nose, look at this. This is all in shadow. Okay, so what I want to do is come back through here and just put a little bit of graphite down on that. I'm going to lighten up my spheres a little bit. I just want ghost spheres right now. So I know you sketch those, but you really don't want to see them. I can barely see them. That's all I need, because as I shade those, watch what I'm going to do. Kind of bend around with those. Okay. Okay, I know that's hard to see, but look close. You can see some graphite around here. I need to bring this shadow in a little more. I can't wait to blend, but I got to tell myself to wait, because once you get in there with the blending tool, a lot of this just goes away. A lot of this line drawings get hidden, which is what you want, but it's really hard to go back. Okay, look right here. See the shadow? I don't have it yet. How about this? See this right here? There's a little bit of a shadow to carry down. Let's do that. I know you guys are like, oh my gosh, it's so light, I can't see. It will darken. Oh, look at all this shadow, this drop shadow here. I don't have that yet. Now, let's just for kicks, take a look at the guide sheet. See this person? They're cross-hatching. Did you notice that? This is what you'd have to do if you were doing this in ink. And look at the spheres in here. This is the one we're kind of leaning on, something like this. And I can't wait to shade with the blending tool. So I hope you haven't gotten too immersed in drawing your own and like forgot to watch this, because Mr. Anderson's going to start to blend this and it should sort of come alive. And I really want you to watch. Okay. So this last step here is just to put in some blending work. And I'm going to, again, start on the left side, and I'm going to use the clean side of my blending tool, or tortillon, okay? Funny word. And I'm gonna come up here, really careful ovals. I don't want people to see my directions. That's been one of my common comments on your shadows and such, is that I can totally see your directions. Look how soft that is. You can't see the directions of my stroke there, and you want to hide that. Blend that out. Another tool is this tissue. That works really good. And it's better than your finger because your finger has oils and things on it. And I've noticed that when I do that, I can't erase. It's weird. The oils like embed it in the paper. All right, let's come down a little bit. I'm gonna go right in here into the dark shadow first and sort of establish my darks. The full range of tone is what we've been calling that. So my darkest darks. The next darkest spot is like through here. So I'll press kind of hard through that. And then gradate that out. So use my blending tool real careful to sort of smooth that out. It's hard to see, but again, I'm using kind of an oval pattern. It's very subtle. It's kind of like that. This fast motion. The back and forth, what happens is it's a really abrupt start and stop that you'll actually leave like really dark start and stop marks. The oval keeps your tool moving, doesn't stop it. Whoa, let's zoom out. It's starting to come alive with some shading, okay? So I'm gonna continue that right through this section. It's a pretty dark part of the nose. You guys are like, wow, there's a lot of blending. Remember, that's one of the first things we wrote was that it was made of shadows. Look how careful I am right here. I don't want to ruin this highlight. Okay, I don't need this anymore. You can barely see my ghost vertical line. I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, let's come down here. Establish this shadow right here. I know this got, look how foggy and soft it looks. That might bugs me a little bit. See this? Look at how crisp this one is. I'm gonna come back with my pencil to that later. Don't let that bother you, okay? You might really wanna be watching this. Again, if you're sketching, you're missing this. It'll be pretty obvious when you send it in. I'll be like, oh my goodness. That happened on a few eye drawings. Some people turned it in with no eyelashes, no eyelids, and no shading around the eye. That was just clear that you guys did not watch the end of that demo. Okay, that nostril's pretty dark. Around here, it's kind of a shadow. There's a shadow right there. But then it's really light, so I'm gonna lay off a little bit. A little bit of a shadow through here. I like to put a little bit of graphite on the bridge of the nose. Okay, the bridge of the nose. Like in elementary school, do you remember drawing noses and you draw like a really hard line like this and a really hard line like that? Definitely want to avoid that, okay? And I am definitely a culprit of doing that as a kid. I still do that with my cartoons, but that's a whole nother concept. All right, and the only other unfinished blended spot is this. Wow, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's a little out of focus. If I sit back in my chair, I can see areas that need work. They just like pop right out to me, okay? So let's zoom out and see my progress. I guess you could say, whoa, stop right there. It looks really good. And I would be okay with that. But after blending right here, my last note is then I'm gonna follow up with sharp pencil details. Okay, and that's how you end it. Follow up with sharp pencil details. Did you guys get that note? I love this step. I remember drawing eyes with you guys, and it was like the moment we did this was the moment that the eyes just popped. Everything just came together so nice. Here's my mouth drawing from last time. It was when I came back after all the blending and I crispened up all these hard edges and just sketched on top. It just looked great. Look at my nose. It doesn't have that. It looks a little foggy, out of focus. And that is a rookie mistake. If you stop after blending, you've missed the ending, the best part. Okay, so sharpened up my HB. I do have a backup, my 3B. In fact, let's start with the 3B. Why would I do that? Look at how dark this is. This is not dark enough. One more time. Look how dark this is. And so I'm going to come in here with a sharpened 3B, and I'm not going to be shy. I'm going to go ahead and give this the dark tone, the dark value it deserves. So I have that full range of tone. And watch me, I'm going to gradate that out like a little value bar hidden inside the nostril. Wow, that looks so good. Okay, look up. This is pencil detail versus no pencil detail. Okay, I'm so glad I did that. Let's go over to this nostril. This one's really, really foggy looking, and I'm just gonna make sure I follow my sketch good. Gradate that out a little bit. This shadow is definitely darker than the other side. So as I do that, I wanna be careful and brave to put in plenty of shading. And yes, you can always go back and blend a little more if you feel like it needs it right now. Just do a little bit more blending and then come back to your sharp pencil again. I'm going to darken this shadow right through here. And a little bit more here. Do you remember on the glass drawing, there was some reflected light? Or the sphere drawing? You guys look at this nose. It might be hard to see. There's a reflected little light right here. Right there. I'd love to see that in your sketches, okay? And a little bit more graphite right through the bridge, right through here that I'm missing. Throw that in there. Is there any questions so far here on this shading portion? I'm laying in a lot of graphite. I actually am going to go back into a little bit of a blending mode here in just a second. But overall, you guys, I'm really happy with this, the look anyway, of how this is turning out. As we think forward to homework, make sure you do a completely separate nose, okay? And I encourage you to take a picture of your nose, take a picture of a friend or a parent, somebody's nose, just so it's fresh and different, or look up one. Use one of Mr. Anderson's 3. Again, this one's one of those options. You could choose to just redraw it again, I guess, if you want. But the idea is that you're getting practice. And what I do when I grade these is I just open up your notes and I can compare it to the one that you do as a final draft. They should be obviously that you did 2 separate things, right? So blending a little bit more of that just to get that smooth skin tone and texture, smooth that out a little bit. Wow. That's the first time I looked up at the screen in a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get so tied up in just my sketch for a while. That's not bad. It's funny how it takes like a good half hour to draw a human nose. You're like, really? What's the deal with that? But there it is. I'm really happy with this. Look at the little hint of the sphere over here. Can you see that on yours? Or this round? You know, I'm using my tool, my blending tool to kind of go around that shape. I can see a little bit of my guidelines. Let's erase that. I guess with your eraser tool, I've seen artists kind of come back in and put a little bit of reflected light on things, just real subtle. See that little thing I did right there? Let me sharpen it. Watch this. Just there's a little bit of something right over here. Whoa, did you see that? Just a tiniest little erase, just hinted at some light being reflected. Wow. You guys, I'm easily excited when things go right. So this is, there's a little one here. Again, I always love doing this, but this has to be one of the last things you do. I guess it's worthy of a note, you know, erase in. The highlights. And what a rewarding step, because I'm gonna put exclamation points, because it's kind of, it's last, okay? So let's take a zoom out here of my notes. Pretty solid progress made today on that. I'm happy with that. How to draw noses.